hoy con un gran amigo de hace mucho tiempo, Mike Rose, que es un excelente técnico de batería. Comenzó como baterista originalmente y trabajado desde compañías como Drum Paradise. Ha estado él también independiente y ahora está acá en Center Staging. Y vamos a estar conversando un poco acerca de algo que es muy importante para la producción musical, que es el tener una persona que sea capaz de poder manipular, poder afinar y poder colocar estas baterías en su sitio como debe ser. ¿Cómo estás, Mike?
¿Cómo está? Armand, how are you?
Good, good. How do you become a tech? How did you start? Because I know you started as a drummer.
Right, started as a drummer. I don't do this anymore. I want to work in the business and work with drums. So I wound up going over to Third Encore, which is another rehearsal studio. Worked there for a couple years, and then I met Jeff Jonas with Drum Paradise. Mm-hmm. And we became friends. And one day he came by and said, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody." And it was like, that's me. So he hired me, and I went and I worked there for 14 years. I kind of knew how to tune drums. I was okay tuning my own drums. I thought I did a good job. But when I went there, I was like, I'm working with the best. Mm-hmm. These guys work with the biggest pros and the biggest stars. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to kind of put what I know off the back burner for now and learn from those guys. Mm-hmm. And then one day I was at, took J.R. Robinson to Henson in Studio A. And I had to set him up and I had to tune him up because the guy who normally did it was not there. So it was my first big chance. And I took him in there, and JR showed up and was very, very happy. And from that moment forward, it started.
Do you think that most drummers know how to take care of their drums? Or do you think that most of the drummers don't because they spend more time on their technique and more on their drumming?
Your A-list guys, your top call session guys, pretty much do. You know, working here and at Drum Paradise, I find that most people don't. Mm-hmm. Most people don't know how to get a good drum sound. They don't know, you know, they don't know what it takes to actually make the drums, you know, do what you want to do. Because, you know, if you want it to be, you know, if you're doing a rock gig, you don't want big, wide open, you know, big band jazz sounding toms. I love that sound, but for a rock thing, it's not appropriate. Mm-hmm. So a lot of guys don't know what to do to, you know, to make your drums sound, you know.
And what do you think that is?
They're more interested in the technique and doing this and the tricks and, you know, all that stuff, you know, than they are actually learning how to, well, wow, what do these tension rods do? You know, oh, wow, you know, they sound all different. Well, it sounds terrible, too. Mm-hmm. But they don't take their time to learn how to tune. When I was learning, when I first came up, you know, when I first got into drumming, I wanted to learn how to tune my drums. It was part of it, just as much as me being able to play and be able to make a band feel good and to be able to do that. I wanted to be able to make my drums sound good too. I didn't want to be the guy that showed up at the clubs with a really nice drum set that sounded horrible.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tune it to get it, you know, to get it right. And you know, we played a lot of shows with a lot of bands that had horrible sounding drums, but mine always sounded good.
And something they just mentioned right now is, you know, those A-list guys, those you know, those session guys, they can actually make the drums good, and it's actually them the ones that hire you all the time to be there,
right?
You know, because they know also that there's one thing that's very important in when you're in the studio, which is the drummer has to play drums, and that is physical.
Right.
You cannot have the drummer, you know, like 12 hours straight just playing drums, tuning himself and doing it. I mean, he needs to disconnect and have somebody that's going to have fresh ears to actually get all these, you know, make it better.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's very important because when, you know, when you're trying to focus on your performance, we're recording how many songs today, you know, and the last thing you want to be doing is sitting here going like this and getting sounds and then tweaking and tuning, and then so you're taking your focus completely off. And you know, you want to be able to walk out there ready to go and slam, you know, and make it happen.
As an engineer, you know, to me it's always better having a tech. Why? Because I get drum sounds with him, and we can spend, with you, and I can spend time with you, you know, like getting the right sound, okay. And then when the drummer shows up, we just tweak there 10 more minutes, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, so what's your process? Do you have a process or a particular way that you do in order to tune drums?
What I usually do is I like to start from the highest tom to the lowest tom, and I try to get like a happy medium, like a medium, maybe be a little on the tight side for the smaller toms and kind of make it a little looser as they go along. But what I'll do is I'll make sure that I tune the top head for, for ease of playing. Just make sure if it feels good, it's in tune. I'll tap around each lug, and make sure that they're all in tune with each other. And then I flip the drum over. And I personally like the bottom heads to be a little tighter. So, a lot of people do the third, between the top and the bottom. Then I just kind of go where it sounds good at that point, But it's usually about a third, and I'll start with that, and I like a little pitch bend, so they go doo, like that. And you get that, and I can hang it back up on the drum, and it doesn't choke, because the hardware, sometimes hardware, you hang it up on some of these stands and stuff, and it chokes.
Yeah, you mentioned something about, like the third between the top and the bottom, which one being the higher of the third?
The bottom.
The bottom is the higher?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, how important do you think it is tuning your toms to a chord?
I think it depends on what the song is and what the band what the band wants. Me personally, I can do that, and I have done that. I think it's important if you're doing a lot of tom fills and the song's very tom heavy. I wouldn't want to have a bunch of toms that are like ringing all all over the place. So I would definitely try to tame those down inside the sphere of the tune. Make sure that it's like there's a lot of E's and D's and stuff that we're covering those, and there's nothing standing out.